All right. Howdy, everyone. I am Kyle Chambers with Texas Quality Assurance. And so today we are discussing our QMS software solution, TQA Cloud. See, TQA Cloud has been designed and developed with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make quality management software simplified. Look, TQA Cloud was built, developed, and designed by quality managers for quality managers. And the fact is, we know the struggles you face on a day-to-day basis. We want to make certain that you have simple, easy to use, scalable software solutions that work with your business and your team so that you can really tackle those tough problems that we know you face every day. Now, I'm going to take a minute here before we dive straight into the demo and looking at all of the features. Hopefully let a few folks show up as this is being live streamed. So please, any comments, questions you have, drop them in LinkedIn Live, on YouTube, or you can just message me personally on LinkedIn, shoot emails, anything like that. We'll make sure that we can get all of those questions and comments responded to, regardless how they come in or where they come in from. So while we're waiting on a few folks to filter in here, let me tell you a little bit about how TQA Cloud got started and, kind of the early history of it. So TQA Cloud was actually developed, the initial version by myself in a previous career. And the simple fact is I was working too many hours. There were too many requirements, too many constraints, too many things that needed to be done. And the simple fact is that one person cannot handle all of that. And so once I started working 70, 80 plus hours a week, I realized something had to be done differently. Now, I'd started my career in IT, so I had a little bit of that software development background, and so put to work developing the very initial version of what we have today, more than a decade ago. And turned out that some of the folks we were working with saw value in this for some of their clients. And so that was the genesis of Texas Quality Assurance and of TQA Cloud. And so we started developing these server-based solutions for small business. But as things grow, things evolve and change, we saw there's a real clear need to move this to the cloud. The fact is we needed more scalability. We needed more than what we could do on the server-based solution. So it was that time around 2015, the start of 2016, that we decided to move the entire operation into the Microsoft 365 cloud. Now, at the time, this was a little bit of a gamble for us, but we had a feeling that what Microsoft was doing with their 365 platform was really going to be revolutionary and game-changing, and it turned out it has been. So probably everyone watching this, the fact is your company most likely is using some form of a Microsoft 365 subscription to provide you the tools you use on a daily basis. Outlook, Word, Excel, maybe utilize Power BI, maybe utilize SharePoint, whatever the tool is. Odds are you're getting some of this from the Microsoft 365 platform. And we found that that is a really, really great jumpstart to get the software into the hands of the folks that need it. And best of all, to make it so simple, intuitive, and easy to use that you don't need these long, complex trainings. Now, we've all heard the jokes and see the memes online about a certain sales software that has some force behind it, and how much time and effort it takes entering data, and how long and drawn out it is. We've all had the experience with the ERP solution where you just have to work your business around the way the software operates. And that has been something we've wanted very strongly to avoid from day one. So TQA Cloud is very simple, very intuitive, easy to use. And again, we utilize the tools and services that you already have in place in your organization to make certain that it's easy for user engagement. So since 2016, we have brought on a whole slew of team members, a development team. So we've really pumped a lot of additional fun features, useful tools and tricks into the software. So I'm really excited to show you some of these details today. So let's just jump right in to that right now. So here is a sample of TQA Cloud. This is one of our demo sites. And in this site, you can see that we are operating largely from the SharePoint platform. So what we do is we make very, very heavy emphasis of what they call the Microsoft Power Platform. So it's the new platform that Microsoft has been really working and developing for about the past 6 to 7 years. And there's some amazing functions available in it. And what this does is allows us as Microsoft partners to work to develop these features so that we can make the absolute best use of the latest, greatest technology that's coming. Again, the technology that's already in your hands to provide you higher quality solutions, more rapid development, and greater customization and custom configuration of the software at less cost, less expense, and less time. You know, the old adage goes that you can either pick quality, price, or speed. Well, we take some pride in the fact that we're breaking all those rules with TQA Cloud. Now, if we take a look at this, we're going to think about quality management, right? So as a quality manager, you've got some basic features. We're looking at document control. We've got QMS management, competence and training. Lord knows we all have file shares. We want to get away from them as much as we can, but they also serve a great source for collaboration, storing production records, and really great resource if managed well. And that's what we do here. And we are adding some new OH&S features. So there's a lot coming soon here. And currently we've got a full-scale accident investigation sheet that's really, really works well for you. Additionally, want to make certain that you have access to our support desk at all times. So the support desk, you can put in a ticket any time of day. We respond within 24 hours to let you know what we can do to help you out. Depending on the level of support, that can include training, custom configuration, you name it. So let's dive into some of these modules a little bit deeper. So let's take a look at our document control page. So document control, look, as we all know, working in the quality management world is where everything begins. You know, if you don't have it documented, you're going to have a real hard time showing proper compliance. So what we've done here is we have separated our document control into two different categories. So we're going to take a look at what we call our process documents. Then we're going to take a look at what we call our technical documents. And what happens here is we actually secure these differently. So our process documents are secured with one level of security, whereas the technical documents are secured with another. And this is intentional because our process documents, such as policies, manuals, forms, job descriptions, procedures, work instructions, these need to be more publicly available for read-only access. We want to make sure that it's quick and easy to find. Our technical documents, on the other hand, are typically restricted more to our engineering folks, some of more technical expertise, top management, and typically we find that this is where the secret sauce to your business is. This is the intellectual property. These are the things that we don't want to be shared out on a regular basis. So what we can do here is we can make sure that these are secured separately. Now, additionally, from the document control dashboard here, you'll see that we have several how-to videos. All of these videos are in YouTube, available for view, and we make certain that all of these videos are embedded in each of the pages. So we want to ensure that you can get the help and the resources you need right when you need it. You know, we've all been in this situation before where you need help with something, you put in a ticket just to wait a day or two and then get a one-line response. Solves your problem, but man, if only I'd had the answer right then when I needed it, when I'm working on that late project at 2 a.m. So we want to make certain that all of those tools are here and ready for you to use, ready for you to access. So let's dive into one of these document libraries a little bit and have some fun with it. So we'll take a look at our policies and manuals document library. Now, all of the document libraries come with the same basic features in place. So as you can see here, let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit to get a better view. All of our document libraries contain version history, control, tracking, and an automated approval process. In fact, you can have an unlimited number of approval routes for these documents. So you can identify up to 4 required approvers for each approval process. And so what that means is when this document is published for approval, because you see currently we're sitting here in the draft status, and I'll explain that in a moment. But when these documents are published for approval, what it means is that the email notification will go out to those required approvers where they can then review the document, make any comments that need to be made, and either accept or reject the document. If all of the approvers accept the document, at that point, this document would be elevated to the next available major version. Here's something that's really cool about that, though, is maintaining controlled, uncontrolled documents has always been the bane of the existence of any quality manager. And we know this. But what we've done here is we've enabled you to maintain your working document library and the final master list for your document library all in one location. So let's take a look here at the version history of this document, and I'll explain a little bit more. So when we take a look at the version history here, you'll see all of the previous versions, including our intermediate draft versions. Now, my account as the admin account on here has approval and edit access. So I can see the draft versions, but your average end user, while I see the draft version .3 here, they will only see the most recent approved version, version 10.0. So it's a really great feature for developing and improving documents, especially when you're in the middle of a change management process and you have to make these updates and share details with other team members, but you don't want to take the risk that the draft version gets out in public circulation. Everything is controlled directly from the system with no additional input requirement from you. Now, one more feature here is all of the document libraries come with the option for additional metadata built in. So if you have need to track the document by more than one piece of metadata, and I'll give you an example of that. Let's go over to our forms and documents here. This would be a great example. You're going to have multiple inspection documents, multiple forms throughout your department. So you're going to want to make certain that all of those documents are tracked by the appropriate metadata. So what if you have 300, 400, even 1,000 documents? Well, by properly working with the metadata here, which is included in the premium support plan, we can ensure that you can filter to the one document you're looking for out of hundreds or even thousands of documents with only 2 or 3 clicks. So it's a great, great feature that's available in all of the solutions here. So let's go back to our document control page here. And again, we've got, like I say, the process documents and technical documents. All of these are secured separately, and we'll be showing you here in a few minutes what that security process looks like. In fact, you do not even need the support from Texas Quality Assurance to maintain and add users to the software. All you have to know is that the end user has the appropriate Microsoft 365 licenses. For most operations, the standard business basic license is enough of a license and access to get into the system, and you can share that with the end user. But we'll come back to that here in a minute. So let's move on from document control over to our QMS management module. QMS management has a lot of features built into it. This is the heart and soul of our day-to-day operations. So what we have here are several standard features. We have our non-conformance reports, corrective action reports, calibrations and maintenance, approved supplier list, and audit management. Now, for the webinar today, we don't have time to dig into all of these features, but please, any particular questions you have, any additional module you want to see a little bit more of, learn a little bit more about, please definitely let us know, and we will get that time scheduled to talk with you personally to show you what you need to see and get you everything you need to know. But let's take a look at our non-conformance report library. This is, again, one of these daily activities we all deal with, we all work with. And let's face it, when you're dealing with binders and stacks of paper, and we even still see the carbon paper out there, maybe you are taking pictures, running back and forth, and it's just a huge mess. And not to mention the spreadsheets, the endless spreadsheets with no automation, no notifications, no special features in there. Well, let's just throw all of that headache right out the window, and let's take a look at the non-conformance report list here. So here you see that we have several non-conformance reports entered, and we're tracking this by a lot of data. Now, you're typically not going to be working in this from the grid view that we're looking at here. You're going to be working in this from an individual document perspective. or an individual record perspective, I should say. Let's go and open up one of these, and let's go ahead and edit this non-conformance report. And so now that we are editing this, we can see here that this was identified as related to a particular job number of external origin and was supplier related. And we've even noted that the supplier was notified. We have here the supplier. Now note that this supplier actually pulls from the supplier approval list built into the site. So really work hard to integrate all of these features everywhere possible. We can identify the particular work area down to the individual operator and the equipment used, the shift, all the information you need. Then we want to track by, well, really what went wrong. Now, let's face it, the majority of these come from our shipping and receiving bay oftentimes. We have bad material come in, the counts are wrong, and especially in light of everything after the COVID quarantine and lockdowns, we all are facing a lot of supply chain issues. So we can select that defect code very quickly, very easily. And then we have a cascading lookup. So we can identify here, maybe it was an MTR issue, no packing list, maybe it failed the PMI, depends on what it is, but you can select that option here. So, one more fun feature. All of these drop-down lists are editable by you, the client. So you can edit the features in here. You are not locked in stone. You are not hard-coded to certain drop-down values, to certain features or codes. You can edit and adjust this to suit your business. Again, we talked about providing quality management at scale. So this is a really, really fantastic way to do it. Let me show you something else here that's a lot of fun, or at least I think so. So if we are working with our non-conformance report, and again, if we're out in the shipping receiving bay, let's face it, walking around with stacks of paper is not all the most convenient, but we all have access to these devices. And maybe if not a cell phone, then maybe it's your company provided iPad. And yes, this is an ancient iPad 2, but hey, it still works. So we have access to all of these smart devices, and it's becoming more and more common in the workplace today. So we can access everything directly from our smart device. So let me show you a screenshot here, what that might look like. So this is actually a screenshot that I took 20 minutes ago, maybe a little longer. Oh gosh, now it looks like an hour ago. So, but I took this from my my mobile device, and this is the homepage of our site. And let's go ahead and open up here one of the screenshots for our non-conformance report. So here you see the layout for the non-conformance report. All of this is easily entered directly from a mobile device. No special apps, no special equipment, no special licenses required. You can access it all directly from the built-in browser on your app, on your device. So it's really, really fantastic solution. One of my personal favorite features when working from a mobile device is the voice to text feature, especially for the non-conformance report details here. Again, let's put yourself in the position of the shipping receiving attendant. You're getting up and down off of a forklift. Your hands are probably a little greasy and grimy and dirty, and you're just not in a good situation to tap out commands on the cell phone. Well, not a problem. We can do a voice text straight into the NCR details here. All of these are pick and play drop-down options, so you get the information you need really, really quickly and easily. Go ahead and hit save, and you as the quality manager can turn on alerts to get notified every single time a new non-conformance report is entered, or if any of these values hit a certain predefined code for you. So let's say, for instance, you want to know only about the internal non-conformance reports, but our purchasing manager wants to know about the externals. Fantastic. You can set up all of the personalized alerts that you need to stay up to date with the software and pay attention to the work that matters to you. Now, let me show you one more feature here. And again, this is also a lot of fun from a mobile device, is notes and attachments. Those pictures are always such a problem to capture. So all of our attachments can be added here But again, if you're operating from a mobile device, we can connect directly to the camera app on your device and upload all of the information right here. So it makes it really, really quick and easy. You can get that photographic evidence right away before anything is unloaded or moved or tampered with. So that's enough for non-conformance reports. It gives you a real good sense and idea of how easy the system is to use. So let's take a look at one more feature in our QMS management. And for this, let's go ahead and take a look at something a little different. Let's look at our corrective preventative actions. Now, corrective preventative actions, coming from a consulting and auditing background, I can tell you is one of the areas that we really see a lot of findings in our ISO audits. So it's really common that these things occur, that the verification isn't completed, perhaps root cause isn't identified, maybe we don't have all the evidence selected that we're looking for. Well, again, we can toss all those problems out the window. The corrective action report process here is going to walk you through each and every one of those steps really smoothly, really easily. Let's go and open up one of these here. So we'll go ahead and edit this corrective action report. It can just be done by double clicking or clicking the edit button. So what we have here is it allows us to track everything through each stage of the process. So again, one of the things that we run into so often is the confusion between our non-conformance reports, which are all about tracking when something was non-conforming, whereas a corrective action report digs really, really deep into the issues. So we want to make absolutely certain that we can properly collect all of that data to show not only that we identified that nonconformance up front, we got the initial containment, identification of the root cause, put a preventative actions in place, verified the effectiveness of those actions, and properly closed it out. Even better, we integrate this idea of risk-based thinking into the system. Now, as part of the ISO TC 176 committee, I can tell you that some of the folks that put the risk-based thinking clause into the standard still don't exactly have a consensus on what it does and doesn't mean. But I'll show you what we do here that's really going to make your life a lot simpler and a lot easier. So let's take a look at this car. So first of all, we've got all of the basic information we're looking for. Is this corrective preventative action? Is it preventative only? Very important for you folks dealing with API Q2 standards, or perhaps anyone in the medical device world. We can identify the work area. Again, this pulls from a consistent work area lookup that's the same across the entirety of the site. We can identify if this is as a result of a non-conformance, perhaps a trend analysis, as a result of an audit from the audit management tool in the system. So all the basic details you need. I have a question here about how many users can access and use the site at a given time. So we will come back to that here momentarily, and I'll discuss some of the pricing on it, but there really is no hard limit of how many users can access the site. It just depends on the package that you're working with, and I promise to get back to that here in just a moment. So let's take a look at containment. So containment, very, very similar to our non-conformance report, and then we identify our defect codes, our non-conformance details, but then we need to go a little bit further. You know, what type of actions are we taking here? Now, if you read through the ISO standard, and especially in clause 10.2, and take the legalese that ISO is written in, and we break it down to more common language, you wind up with 4 typical actions that you can take. This can be an education, instruction. We can leave it as is, we can rework it, or we can scrap it. And again, these codes are all editable. So if you have certain predefined codes that you're already working with, we can go ahead and utilize those here in the system. Then what we do is we use a basic risk slider. The same you would do on a FEMA. We identify what's our risk, severity, impact, and detection. And this is all in our pre-mitigation. So why didn't we originally detect this root cause? Well, you know, maybe the detection was difficult or whatever the case may be. Of course, you can track all of the standard cost of poor quality in here. But this is the risk-based thinking piece. Let's think about this. If we have a risk that merits mitigation, now what standard quality tool might we use to mitigate that risk? Well, we would take action to mitigate it with a corrective action. So here, after we do our root cause and identify the appropriate details there, we can move to our corrective action phase and then identify our risk post mitigation. It's a really, really great way to show evidence of risk-based thinking without having to have so many lengthy registers and additional documentation that, if we're honest with ourselves, we only look at once a year before the management review. So we make sure to get all of this in here in a very functional, practical manner. Identification of our preventative details, and the all-important evaluation of effectiveness. I would venture to say that probably 1 out of every 2 audits that we conduct, we have a finding on folks not following up on the evaluation of effectiveness. Finally, our closeout here, we can identify the management, supervisor, leader to sign off on it, and choose the final status for the action. As always, the option for notes and attachments here as well. So that's kind of basics of our corrective actions. Again, every module within the site, you can have up to 300 custom alerts built into it. So if you want to know when certain actions are taken, you can know automatically when those items are updated in real time with email notifications. Okay, so to the question here, looks like Robert dropped in on YouTube, is how many users can have access to the site at any given time? So I'll go over some of the pricing details here. We're a little different. Everyone else tries to hide the pricing. We're not about hiding the pricing. We know it's a question you have. We know how many users you want to have is a big deal. So the software starts out at $250 per month. And that $250 per month gives you access for the first 10 users to the site. We don't make distinctions between read-only, edit, approve, how many users have access to the site. If you're looking for premium support, such as one-on-one trainings like this, except specifically for you and your team, if you're looking for custom configuration, say addition and modification of some of the metadata, it's a flat $250 a month, and they get to see a bank of up to 4 hours. Now, if you need additional users have access to the site, we keep it very simple, very affordable pricing, and it's going to be $10 per month per user, and we sell that in buckets of 100 users each. Now, while we're on the topic of discussing pricing, I want to let you know as well that we have a 30-day out clause. So if for whatever reason you are unsatisfied, or perhaps cash flow issues, or whatever the case may be, we want to make sure that you understand you only have to provide a 30-day written notice to get out of the contract. And then we will still make your data available for you to download, export for up to 90 days after that contract is terminated, especially in light of everything that we've all been through in the last 18 months. We know that small business, mid-sized businesses really struggle in a lot of ways they didn't before. And we want to make certain that these tools that help you on a daily basis do not add to the perceived risk or the headache that you have in your organization. So with that, there is no upper limit to how many users you can have in the site. It is all very, very simple, easy to use, to add. So I'll show you how that is going to work. We'll go into our permissions portal here. And the permissions portal, we can grant access to specific users within your organization to manage. So here you can see the users that have access to this particular site. Even more, we know that security is always an issue. So we segregate these sites to only be shared with specific domains. So if that user is not a member of the pre-approved domain, they simply do not and cannot have access to the site. Now, when we want to add a new user, again, this is unlimited with the users that we can add in here, only dependent upon the billing package that you have selected. We can enter in their email address here. Once entered in, we can then simply check on these boxes which groups we want them to have access to. So if we want Caleb here to have access to our approved suppliers as an editor, and we want him to have access to our audit reports as read-only, and we want him to be able to edit our calibrations and maintenance, we can enter it in here. What's going to happen when we save this is it's going to automatically send an email to Caleb to get him authenticated to the site. We do utilize multi-factor authentication but we're using your existing email address. You don't need a new username. You don't need a new password. It's all simple as easy can be. The system does all of the legwork to manage the authentication. The user simply needs to identify the means for multi-factor. Perhaps it's a text message on the cell phone, an email to an alternate email, or perhaps the Microsoft Authenticator app, which is my personal favorite. Either way, it's going to make certain that they have secured access to the site and very, very easy, quick, ready access. So within a couple of minutes of submitting the user for access, they can have access to the site and ready to go. So, Robert, hope that answers your question there. If anyone else has any other questions, please do not be afraid to drop it into the chat here, or you can email me personally and let me know later, and I'll be happy to help you with anything I can. Now, let me tell you about one of my other favorite features here. I guess I probably have a lot of favorite features in the system here. But I spent years as a safety manager. Now, it's kind of a funny story. If you ever listen to the Quality Matters podcast, you've probably heard me tell this before. I started out as the IT manager, and I was the systems administrator, network admin, all around IT geek, right? And geek is an endearing term to me. But I'd realized I'd kind of worked my way out of a job, and I was offered the opportunity to take over the health and safety program. When I say take over, I really mean develop from the ground up. And one of the more challenging parts of that role that I had was maintaining competence and training. There's so many reasons that we have to have documented training requirements, and it's just so tough to keep up with. I used to spend a whole weekend just going through pivot charts and reports and records and loose papers, and just it was a mess. Well, again, throw all of that headache out the window. Let's take a look at the competence and training library here. So we've got a few components to this. We identify our training library. Now the report's populating down here right now. It's got a lot of numbers to crunch. But this is going to crunch in about 10 to 15 seconds, what used to take about 2 to 3 days to do. But we have our training library. Our training library is where we define all of the training requirements. Then we have our competence records, where we identify who has been trained according to the training in the library. And lastly, we have our employee list. And every employee in our list is assigned one of these departments, work areas that we've seen show up throughout the site. So once all of these things are entered, what we can do is we can have a lot of fun with our required training report here. Now, this report, what it will do is allow us to filter by department. So let's say we're going to the land service department today, and we want to know everyone who is missing a training in our land service department. Well, here we go. We have a list of everyone that's missing records for our benzene quiz. This quiz has a retrained interval of 1, which means that they have to be retrained on an annual basis. We can get further visibility. We can go out to 60 days, and we can know who's coming due soon, to 90, 120, even 150 days to get that full visibility that you're really looking for with your training program. So perhaps it's not the benzene quiz we're interested in today. Perhaps instead we want to take a look at our confined spaces. Or perhaps you have one of your process procedures for your quality department in here. Simply select the training you're looking for, identification of all of the employees missing it, and again, what used to be many hours of work like that, we have available to us really quick, really easy, ready access to go. So let me zoom back out here a little bit. Oh, and all of these reports are exportable to PDF. You can even analyze it in Excel if you want to go a few layers deeper than what we had before. All right, can we make the image bigger? It is on the screen share here. I'm actually somewhat limited, but let me see what I can do here for you. The StreamYard software we use here is a little bit limited on the on what we can do with zooming and screen share and not. But let me see if I can take a snippet here and zoom in on that just a bit for you. So here we go. Oh, sorry about that. Don't want to make the marks there. So we have the required training report. Again, like I say, we can identify the department that we want to look for. Now, this is a really key feature here. This is actually a really, really key feature. So if we're going to take a look at the department, I remember in my early days as a safety manager, I simply assume you cannot train people too much. It's hard to have too much training. We want everyone to have as much training as humanly possible. It's great. Well, I didn't really consider how expensive labor is. I didn't really consider all the overhead costs. I didn't consider the lost production. And so, needless to say, I had some fun discussions with management in the early days because I was training people too often and taking them off the production floor. So the best way to do this is really identify the particular department that you're looking to train, the training you're looking to conduct, and then only pull the folks absolutely necessary to pull for that training. So this is going to ensure that you're not overtraining personnel, you're not pulling them away from production, and you're getting exactly the folks you need trained in the interval that they need it. And again, we can have that advanced notice of what's coming. And this is going to really allow you to appropriately plan your training program in ways you really never could have before. Let me minimize that there. All right, so let's take a look a little bit about how this operates. So let's go over here to our training library. All right, so our training library holds what we call competence directories. Now, within this competence directory, you can add as much or as little as necessary. So we know that some of these trainings are going to be based on existing process procedures. So we can link that competence directory to that process procedure. That process procedure also has requirements for departments to retrain if and when it's updated. So you can go ahead and enter in that retrain requirement for that process procedure for the particular departments you're looking to retrain. Or if it's an instance of these are recurring annual trainings or maybe part of our onboarding process, we can enter in all of that here as well. So this retrain interval is really part of the secret sauce to that. Is retrain interval of 1 means, of course, we have to have it retrained on an annual basis. Now, on the other hand, if we have a retrain interval of 0, that's going to indicate that this is an onboarding activity or something that just has to be completed at least once in the tenure of that employee. Then we identify the departments who require that training. So once all this is linked together, again, if we're doing this on Excel spreadsheets and paper strewn across the desk, is many hours of work. But the system does all of the legwork for us right here. And let's one other scenario that comes up a lot is perhaps you send your folks to an area safety council to receive the training, and you have no materials in-house at all. Well, not a problem. Let's go ahead and open up one of these competence directories. And what we can do is we can go ahead and insert, say, a Word document or something along those lines to indicate, this is where these folks need to go for that training. So let me go ahead and show you again how easy that is. So I just created a document on another window I've got here, and I can simply drag and drop that directly into the system. We'll go ahead and get it uploaded. And then we can open up this document and we can identify all of the requirements for it. So let's have a little bit of fun there. Now, I used to utilize the Houston Area Safety Council a lot. So from within in this document, we can go ahead and put all of those details straight in it, go ahead and close it out and move on. And we know exactly where we need to go, the code for the training, all of the information that we need to have. But what I really like most about it is that we have the structure built in here to save you time, but we've also allowed you to have the flexibility to maintain and manage the program to best suit how you run your organization and you run your business. All right. Let's move on from competence and training to some of the file shares. Now, we all have production records. There's no way to get around it. Depending on what type of work you do, Lord only knows the types of production records you may have. We have some folks that might have tons of pictures, tons of images in there. Others, maybe it's batch records, but you name it. So let's go open up our production file share. Now, let me make clear here that all of these file shares can be synced with Microsoft OneDrive. So I'll show you how that works here. Give me just a moment to get that pulled up on my side. So you see here, some of these screenshots and such that I've been using during the presentation are actually stored in one of our file shares, one of these document libraries in 365, and we have them all synced with Microsoft OneDrive. So here are all of the various document libraries that I have synced locally. So there's lots of fun features here as well. So if we open up this team share or any of these, it may be a little hard to see because again, the zoom on the streaming system here, it's not all that great, but let me see if I can help us out a little bit here. As well. So let me do a little snippet there because I know I can zoom in on those pretty well. So you see these different icons. We've got this little fluffy cloud icon. We've got the little kind of recycling symbol icon. So these are all important. So what that means is that this cloud icon means that everything within that directory is stored in the cloud and available for download if and when I need it. This little recycling, process symbol here is indicating that it's currently syncing some files, and which totally makes sense because we've been doing work on our production folders during the day. We've been doing work on the podcast this morning, and so it's working to sync those with the cloud and my local device so that everyone across our wide expanded network has access to the same documents, the same data at the same time. If and when there are conflicts, no problem. Our OneDrive app here will simply let us know if and when we had those conflicts. And hey, what do you know here? You see that it recently uploaded all of these images that we just took a look at that I was working with. The green checkbox that's circled in like that means that everything in that directory is stored locally and in the cloud. So it makes it really, really easy to keep up to date with everyone. But let's take a look back here at our production file share. So within the production file share, we have a sample job folder in here, job number 1052. So we've got some files in it. Now, we've all played the download and paste game before, and download and paste is just not a very fun game to play. So if we want to get records from one location in our site into the job folder, well, yes, I suppose we could come over here and I could download a copy of this document, and then I could go to my downloads folder, and then I could go navigate to the job folder and drag it in there. It's not the most convenient. So let's find a better way to do it. So let's select the document we want. What we're going to do is we're going to tell it copy to. And what it's going to do is we're going to go ahead and tell it copy to. We're going to go within this site, and we are going to go to our production file share. And we're going to go to our job number there. We're going to go ahead and copy it to that location. And now, because I've done this in a demo before, it's saying, hey, both of these files, this file already exists in here. Do you want to keep both copies, or do you want to replace the existing one? In this instance, I'll just say replace. But again, I have the option to make that decision here. Then let's go back to our production file share. And we can open that up and we can see the particular file that was just pasted, or not pasted, but copied in there. And it'll even show this nice little kind of marking on it that this is a recent document. So it may be kind of hard to see on the screen there. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. Is these three little lines right here. That's going to indicate that this is a new document added to the system, plus the modified tells us the date that it was most recently put there. So this works out, again, really, really well to maintain the same convenience that we all have with network file shares, but we no longer need a VPN. We don't have to have a remote desktop connection. You don't have to have any of these weird solutions that, I guess in the 90s were really fantastic, but we're a little bit past that today. Unfortunately, a lot of organizations are still working that manner. So very, very simple, easy to use solution. Last piece I want to show you here is one of our new OHS modules. Again, we've got a lot of new functionality coming to this in the new year. It's one thing I haven't discussed yet is we have a 6-month deployment schedule. So we are deploying new features, new modules every 6 months into the system. So your subscription will automatically get you access to those new QMS, OHS, EMS modules that are coming without additional rates, no sleazy sales deals. We're just going to make certain to get you the tools you need when you need it as best we possibly can. So let's take a look at our accident investigation form here. Now, something really cool about this is the accident investigation form here, the OHS investigation form, is actually a tool that we have used in our consulting business really for quite some time. And it's an Excel spreadsheet because that's what we all do in the quality management world. So that spreadsheet we utilized, we converted into a digital document. So when we converted this over to a digital document, I'll give you a little bit of detail of what that means. We have what we call a digital workplace solutions. Digital workplace solutions means that we can take a document that you've already developed. Maybe it's an inspection report, or in this case, an occupational investigation sheet. And we can take that document and convert it over into a digital format that allows you to digitally collect the data, again, from a mobile device, a smart device, a laptop, desktop, you name it, almost anything internet connected, to get exactly what you need. So this is a really fantastic example of that. So here we've got the option for report title, the name, the date it was reported, all of the necessary information you need as a safety manager to get those OSHA logs updated, to maintain your records and so forth. From, did we have any lost wages? Did this happen? Any issues with overtime? Did it happen previously? Are there restrictions? You name it. To the investigation summary, QHSC manager, supervisor, all the details in there. What's even better about the digital workplace solutions is that these are a flat fee. So you know the cost upfront for development, you know the timeline to get it developed, and we'll work to be on time and on budget with these development projects. So these are going to be individually scoped for you. So they do fall outside of that monthly subscription, but we worked really, really diligently to get everything done for you. Again, on time, on budget, for a very low flat fee. And it starts at just $1,500 per digital workplace solution. Another question here from Alberto is, do we have a trend graph? So we don't have a trend graph built into the system here, but we do have some clients that have exported that data out on their non-conformance reports. So while I'm not a fan of utilizing Excel spreadsheets to manage the system, Excel is, and still probably will be for some time, a fantastic tool for analyzing your data. So let me show you how that can work. We can take anything within the system and we can go ahead and export it straight to a CSV or a query file. So let's go ahead and open this up real quick. Even better, if we export it with a query, it's going to maintain that data connection to the system. So each time something is updated within the system, you get that live automatic update. So all of the data in your Excel is still going to be up to date with what's in the system. Even better, it is a one-way ticket. So what I mean by that is data can flow into your spreadsheet, but cannot flow from your spreadsheet back up into the system. So here we have, again, all of the data that we had available in our site is now available in an Excel spreadsheet. And you can do really anything you need with it, from analyzing it in a Power Pivot chart, Power Pivot, Excel graph, you name it, it's all there. Also, if you have a little bit of expertise with Power BI, and even if you don't, we can provide some support here, depending on what you're looking for, to do your own analysis of the data. So we do not restrict that access to Power BI. This is something that you find is pretty common in a lot of ERP solutions. It's really restrict access to custom reporting because they want to rely on the custom development of those reports for additional revenue. We want to make certain that you have the tools at your disposal to make good use of the resources at your hand. And let me show you one more thing that might help answer your question here. And let me pull this up. We do have some standard Power BI reports available out of the box. Let me see if I can make this screen a little bit bigger for us here. So not quite the trend graph that you're looking for, especially if we're looking at something along like SBC lines. That's something that's on the docket for future development, but we're not quite there yet. And the reason being that it's each organization is so incredibly uniquely different. So these are options for development in our digital workplace solutions, if you'd like to talk about that in the future. But again, we're kind of a little restricted here with how the streaming software will allow me to zoom and such on the screen. But I can show you a few features here as well with the standard reports. So we can take a look at either our non-conformance report or our corrective action report. We can identify the month that we're wanting to look at. So let's see what happened in January for non-conformance reports. So we can see in January that we had a rework, total of 17 components reworked across 5 non-conformance reports. And we had a total of 9 scrapped, again, across the 5 non-conformance reports. These were clustered into 2 tier 2 defect codes. So we know that the majorities came from cracks or porosity. And again, we can get all of that information that we're needing to help kind of sort and filter. Really, really great input for the management review as well. Corrective actions is really quite similar. Let's take a look at a 1-month basis. Let's see what happened in January. It gives us the total for the cost of poor quality. So we know what our total man-hour counts were, the material cost, supplier cost, and our total costs. So it looks like cost of poor quality in January from corrective actions was about $9,000. So we get, again, all of that information here, pretty accessible. So if you're wanting to talk about some of the trend charts and some of the production records and data analysis from it, let's definitely set up a separate time to go into that. Again, those are not features that are built into the deployment of TQA Cloud, but they are available through our digital workplace solutions so that we can get you the exact solution that you're looking for. Last piece here that I want to show you, and at the time we have allotted, we're getting close to the end here, is our site list. So I've been telling you throughout this that each of these drop downs that we're looking at can be revised and edited. So if we are looking at, say, the department list, work area, kind of depends on your organization is what you might call it. So you'll see that maybe we kind of float between the terms a little bit. That list is right here available for revision and edit. We can add a new item directly into it. So we'll just say this is the demo test department. So we'll go ahead and save that there. And demo test department is right there at the bottom. And it's now going to be available in the drop-down menus throughout the rest of the site. Now, these are some features that if you need some support editing or modifying, or maybe just don't feel comfortable for one reason or another, under the premium support plan, we're here to help you with it. But again, I want to make certain that all of the functionality that you need is at your fingertips so that you do not have to wait on us getting back to you or anything along those lines. And it's not that there's necessarily delay. We're very responsive within 24 hours. But again, I've been in the position as a quality manager. You know that you've got a meeting coming up in 2 hours and you've got to get the data sorted and filtered in a certain way. So again, we want to make sure that those options are available to you there. We can take a look at the equipment list. Again, our defect codes. So I'll show you how those operate here real quick. Take a look at our tier 1 defects, and we'll take a look at our tier 2 defects. So our tier 1 defect codes is just a simple list, single column. Here's all the tier 1s. Again, this is the drop down we've been seeing otherwise. Our tier 2 defect codes, on the other hand, we can identify all of the tier 2 codes, and then we map the associated tier 1 that it is matched to. And so this is what's going to allow all of the cascading and filtering that we've seen otherwise. I'll show you one more fun feature here, because if we're looking at this like in this layout, it's kind of hard to tell. Well, are we looking at receiving or shipping or production? What are we looking at? So we can go ahead and group these. And now I can see all of my tier 1 codes by inspection, tier 1 codes, tier 2 codes by the tier 1 code for production. And so it's going to let us group all of these together. Now, this is a feature that's not just available in our defect codes, but again, this is available throughout the entirety of the site. So you can set tons of pre-filtered views, pre-grouped views. Again, the options for customization are almost limitless so that you can really turn this into a solution that works for you, for your team, and help you save time and effort to put it where it matters most. So those really the basic features that we've got. It's a lot, but again, it's very simple, very easy to use, to access. So go ahead and open it up here for any other questions. Let me take a look here on the other laptop and see if we've got any other comments I might have filtered in that haven't had a chance to respond to on here. Please feel free to drop any additional comments in the box and let me know if there's anything we can do for you. Otherwise, what I'd like to do is to go ahead and get some individual time set up to talk with you about your business, about your specific struggles with quality management. Again, this is the world that I come from. It's where I've been working for a long time, and want to make sure that we can help you out. So here, what would be the cost for 40 users? So 40 users, the first 10 users are included with the $250 access. The additional 30 users would be $10 a user. So we'd be looking at really not much there. And then it depends on if you want the premium support bundled in it as well. And we sell those users in 10 user blocks. So it would be 300 for the additional 30 users plus the 250 a month. So we'd be looking at 550 a month to get the base level access to the site. All right. Well, if there are no other comments or questions in here, we will be monitoring the comments on YouTube, LinkedIn Live, everywhere that this is going out. I'm going to make certain that my personal email address, the business phone number, is in the notes on all of these as well. So you can contact me personally, kchambers@texasqa.com. And you can find me on LinkedIn. It's probably one of the best places to get in contact with me. While I kind of hate it sometimes, but always attached to these devices. So I'll make sure to get a response to you just as quick as I possibly can. To say that I love the work we do and what we're able to provide for you here is really an understatement. And it really comes from the fact that this is the world we have lived and breathed for so long. With the advent and benefit of us being Microsoft partners, we've got access to a really fantastic team of developers that can do a lot of really good work for you. Again, very quickly, cost effective. You know what you're going to get. You know the date you're going to get it. And, I think that's, again, another one of my favorite aspects of this new release of TQA Cloud is we're really trying to combine all of the benefits of the previous software as a service solutions, where you have the out of the box ready to go. We can get you up and running in a day. But we also have the option for customization, custom configuration, and new development that you typically find with very high-priced software development organizations. And we're going to make sure to provide all of that to you as cost-effective, as quickly, easily, simply as possible. And again, get you a very high-quality, good product that's going to save you time and effort in your daily basis. So really, everyone, thank you so much for hanging with us so far. I'm very happy to have the interaction, comments we got here. Anything else you need, let me know. And y'all have a fantastic day. Thank you, guys.